Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs! Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga. The story of X and Y, where previously, Xerneas has decided to side with X and his friends, taking everyone back to the surface, leaving AZ behind to confront his distant relative. Y and the gym leaders were able to survive the blast thanks to barriers created by Valerie and Olympia's Pokémon. Jurassic tells Lysander that only buildings were damaged, no loss of human life because of a number of factors. And when Xerneas makes it to the surface, it looks for a trainer who will help it unleash its full potential. Bryony and a group of Team Flare Grunts try to capture it, but Y ultimately ends up being the trainer to wield the power of Xerneas, naming it Zerzer. With Xerneas on her side, Y easily takes out Bryony and the others. But when she makes a play for the ultimate weapon, who should arrive but Malva, now wielding the power of Yveltal. As it turns out, Yveltal's cocoon was underground underneath Xerneas' tree, explaining why she used the magic room to descend deep down. While Malva is ready to engage in battle with Y, Jurassic tells her that Xerneas and Yveltal are too evenly matched, would ultimately just lead to a stalemate. Xerneas decides to retreat with all of Y and her friends, as well as the gym leader. Meanwhile, who should show up in Kalos but Blue, who, much in a similar situation to the situation with Kyogre and Groudon, is looking for a mediator Pokemon who can turn the tide of the battle, namely Zygarde. Blue had helped find Diantha deep underground with his Rhyperior, and tells her about his search for Zygarde. Meanwhile, X and his friends are hiding out at the Lost Hotel with one of the Elite Four, Sibold, while Ramos informs them that Team Flares blame the destruction of the Kalos region on the kids of Vanilleville and the gym leaders. So the gym leaders head out to mitigate the destruction, and Y starts training with Master Gherkin as a new Mega Evolution trainer. Y and X then head out to obtain a Pokemon who can Mega Evolve. X is looking for a Pinsir and Y is looking for Absol. Y managed to find an Absol who seemed to be looking for her almost, while their group comes across a Scyther who is down, being protected by a Pinsir, who X just can't seem to catch when Blue and Diantha arrive. Blue helps out X, informing them that the Scyther's life energy was drained by the ultimate weapon, and Pinsir is mourning his friend. So X is able to convince Pinsir to join him after they team up to take on Blue, with Pinsir leaving once they're able to get Scyther back in Swords. Trevor is then contacted by Professor Sycamore to meet in Anistar City. Unbeknownst to Professor Sycamore, Zygarde seems to be stalking him. As Blue meets with the others at the Lost Hotel, we find out about his training to Mega Evolve with Gherkin, while X and the others head to Anistar City, finding Professor Sycamore under attack. X and Y help to rescue him, and he informs the group that there is a certain time frame when Mega Evolution Stones are the easiest to find, between 8 and 9 p.m. While X and Y keep up the defense, they hand their Mega Rings over to Tierno and Shauna so that they can go out and look. All the while Essentia is watching them, but Y spots her, and they engage in battle. Much is going on, but we're taking the steps needed to finally take down Team Flare. How will we do it? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright, adventure number 37, Pinsir, Change It. We pick up on Route 18, Valedictorian Way, I think. Shauna shouting, found it. She asks her Skitty, Neko please? And I guess it uses a psychic ability to levitate the Mega Evolution Stone out of the water and into Shauna's grasp. Shauna says, it's glowing everywhere. Tino shouts, oh, over there too, spotting another shining light. He says, this time it's in the ground. He brings out his Corphish and it uses Dig to find the stone. Shauna says, the Mega Stones are everywhere, and they shine brightly whether they're in the water or buried underground. Tino says, right, but only between the hours of 8 and 9 p.m. And we need to have the Mega Ring infused with the power of the Sundial with us. Oh, infused with the power of the Sundial. Okay, so the Mega Rings had to be near them in order to pick up on that shining. That's interesting. This definitely sounds like a game mechanic. Chana says, at this rate, I bet we'll find Rut and Soul Souls Megastone in no time. Tierno says, right, let's cross-check them with the list. Current time, 8:10 p.m. We cut back over to Anistar City, where White confronts Essentia, shouting, so you're the one who's been controlling these Halucha. Essentia bounds away, being picked up by one of her Halucha, with Y shouting, wait, why did you attack Professor Sycamore, she says, chasing behind her with her Fletchinder. Is it gonna evolve eventually into Talonflame? Talonflame's kinda cool. It is Talonflame, right? The next evolution? Yeah, Talonflame. Y says, actually, I don't care. I'm happy to oppose anything Team Flare is trying to accomplish. Y has evolved into professional hater. Trevor and Sycamore watch Y chase down Essentia. Trevor then shouts over to X. X, Y is heading for the center of the city. X thinks to himself, the Halucha that Marisol was fighting has disappeared. Y must have gone after them. Strange, the Halucha's moves are suddenly off track. Could it be because the trainer commanding them has left? I mean, yeah, duh. Y continues to chase Essentia throughout the city, shouting, you're not getting away from me. But as she turns the corner, suddenly Essentia is commanding the Halucha to attack with, I'm not sure, but it looks like a rock attack, which looks pretty devastating. It hits both Y and Fletchinder, causing them to fall towards the ground. Y then brings out her Absol, which, shoot, I forgot all about it. Okay, in terms of Pokemon, there was Gengar, and now we have Absol. Made this whole process a lot harder than it needed to be. Absol bounds up the building towards Essentia, unleashing an attack that throws her off balance. As Essentia plummets, her mass zooms in on Xerneas in its Pokeball in its tree form. Okay, well that would explain why Y hasn't been using Xerneas. Essentia says to herself, so she's the one who captured Xerneas. In that case, Jesus, how? In an instant, Essentia has managed to get all the way back up the building on the back of Absol, right behind Y. Essentia says, activate Balljack. Balljack? Telepathically, Xerneas says, run. You must escape. Y, hearing that, says, recalls her Absol saying, Soul, come back. Croaky. And she brings out her Frogadier? It's been a while. Yep, Frogadier. Yep. This throws Essentia off balance, causing her to crash into the roof of a building as Frogadier helps Y bound away. Trevor sees the turmoil going off in the distance towards the city. He calls out to X. Well, X says, I'm done. Trevor, you stay here with the professor. I'll go help Y. Trevor says, but X interrupts, saying someone needs to be here when Tierna and Shauna return. Current time, 8:25 p.m. As we cut to Y hiding behind a building, he says, what a surprise. That was you, wasn't it, Zerzer? Are you awake? Xerneas responds, yes. I sense danger. A signal. Yeah, now Xerneas is in its, I guess, neutral form in the ball? Y says, Essentia, you mean? From Essentia, you mean? Xerneas says, a signal that was trying to take control of me. Y is stunned, saying, Essentia called it Balljack. She's capable of something like that? Yeah, that's wild. What should we do? Should I get you out of the ball? Xerneas tells her, I haven't regained enough life force to fight yet. Y then peeks out from behind where she's hiding, spotting a building, saying, Blue said we can't heal drained life force at a Pokemon Center. She thinks for a moment, but heads inside saying, but maybe it'll be safer in here than outside. It looks empty. She sits down saying, phew, thinking to herself, Ramos said Team Flare will hesitate to attack us because I have Zerzer. But if they take Zerzer away from us with Balljack, suddenly a voice calls out, Y panics, hiding Xerneas behind her back, as a Nurse Joy appears. I guess technically she would be the Pokemon Center lady, but let's not get it twisted. She's essentially a Nurse Joy. I refuse to just say Pokemon Center lady. Nurse Joy says, would you like to heal your Pokemon? Y says, I'm not sure. Nurse Joy says, if you're not sure, why don't you give it a try? I'm sure the Pokemon inside the Pokeball will be happy to get a treatment. She hands over her Fletchinder, saying, right, Fletchy is hurt, so maybe I'll do that. Is this the first time we've actually been inside a Pokemon Center in this series? Oh, maybe not the first time, but if anything, it's been a long time since we've actually either been inside a Pokemon Center or at least focused on someone going into a Pokemon Center. It's hard for me to remember at this point. Oh, Nurse Joy says, would it be just your fletch in there then? As Y thinks to herself, looking between her other Pokemon. Unbeknownst to her, the real Nurse Joy is tied up behind the counter. Current time, 8:45 p.m. We then cut over to Tierno and Shauna, who have a horde of Mega Evolution Stones that look like a bunch of marbles, honestly. Tierno says, no, not this one. Shauna says, we found tons of Mega Stones, but we still don't have the ones we're looking for. So we pick up with them at Route 19 at the Grand Valley Way. Tierno says, the entire stone is light blue and, oh, is this it, Shauna? As he shows one stone, Shauna says, you got it. You found Absolite. They stand up, Tierno saying, all right, now we just have to find Rut's Tinserite. Shauna questions, the Mega Ring is starting to dim, isn't it? Tierno says it is. We only have 5 minutes left. But he points to the distance saying, oh, there's one over there. Shauna says, perfect. But Tierno doesn't notice that he's way too close to the cliff face as it crumbles beneath his footing. Shauna calls out, Tierney! And Tierno says, whoa! Shauna grabs him, but the size difference is very, very profound as she plummets down the cliff face with him. Well, it's more of a slope, so it's not too bad. As Shauna cries out, I knew something like this would happen. As they slide down towards the water at the bottom, Tierno says, where's the Megastone? Shauna points to the distance, saying, over there. But they're both shocked. Oh my God. Okay, that's a little horrifying if I'm being honest. They see a horde of Pokemon, all with their life force drained. Geez, from another perspective, this could have been absolutely horrifying. Tierno and Shauna are aghast. As Tierno says, they're all in the same state as that Scyther we found. Is it because of the ultimate weapon too? Yeah, what else would it be? Tierno wades through the water and all the unconscious Pokemon. Look, man, this is giving me bad vibes, dude. To the shining light underneath the pile of bodies. Look, as he says, the Megastone is under them. Give me a hand, please, Shauna. Shauna in tears says, no, I can't take it anymore. But Tierno tells her, pull yourself together. What will happen if we give up now? Blue said the life force in these Pokemon will return if they have the will to live. We have to turn Kalos back into a place that these Pokemon want to live in. If we let Team Flare keep doing what they're doing, people might end up like these Pokemon too. Shauna contemplates this for a moment as Tierno tries his best to pull an Aggron off of the Mega Stone. Oh, with the assistance of the Scorefish, of course. But Shauna joins in too, with Skitty using its psychic powers to help as well. Current time, 9 p.m. Time has run out. Meanwhile, X, Pinsir, Quilladin, and Charmeleon are walking down the streets of Vanistar City. Quilladin notices something and gets X's attention. X walks over and examines it, saying, trouble. That's funny. I don't trust this situation. Y suddenly pops up around the corner, calling out to X. X responds, saying, Y, are you okay? Y says, yes, I was just healing my Pokemon. What did you do with the Halucha? X says, oh, I defeated them. Y says, that's great, let's go. X says, hold it. Y, the 5 don'ts are 5 don'ts. Y says, what? And pauses, and that's enough time for Pinsir to immediately go in, clamping onto Y's head. Y questions, what are you doing, X? X, with a very serious look on his face, says, stop it. If you were Y, you would have apologized right away for chasing after the enemy on your own. Jesus. Oh my God. Y says, X, this hurts. You're hurting me. X, dear, stop. I'm your childhood friend. X then says, do it, Rut. As Pinsir, there's no easy way to see that and not feel some kind of way. But Pinsir destroys the top half of X's head. She slumps to the ground. But X, with no sympathy in his eyes, says, I would never call me dear. Essentia, with her broken mask, says, so, what about it? As she transforms back, X says, Essentia. Essentia, now surrounded, says, you had a tough time against my Halucha, and your Pokemon are all fatigued. You don't have your Mega Ring either. On top of that, I now have Xerneas. Do you still think you can win? Okay, it's interesting. Was there a mask beneath the mask? Or does it just have that many layers? And that could have been brutal in another light. Like, my God. A voice calls out from behind her. Of course we'll still win. As we see a very roughed up Shauna arriving with Y, Trevor, and Tierno. Shauna saying X is powerful. She calls out X, your Mega Ring, and Pincerite. Quilladin takes both, brings them over to X and Pincer. While Y says, you tricked me with your transformation function. Give Zerzer back to me. So you're not going to, are you? That's why I'm going to have to take Zerzer by force. She brings out her Absol, who now bears the Absolite. And so, X and Y look to each other, and, using their keystones, Mega evolve their Pokemon into Mega Absol and Mega Pinsir. But Essentia once again activates her Ball Jack. Okay, shoot. Dang, it just sucks that after gaining the ultimate, one of the most ultimate Pokemon, Y immediately has it stolen from her. Like, I don't know how many days it's even been by this point, but that explains the whole situation with the Pokeball factory. Easier to steal other people's Pokemon. Sharks. Part of Team Snag'em. Current location, Anistar City. Some say the enigmatic device used as a sundial came from outer space. Alright, next up is adventure number 38. Zygarde appears. I mean, it already appeared, and it gave me quite a fright. A grunt tells Jurassic, you have a report from Team B, Mabel. Team B, Mabel. The device beneath the rock structure are all fully operational. Devices. Jurassic says, luck is on our side. I was devastated when Xerneas foiled our plan for destroying our absorber. By destroying our absorber. But who'd have thought it? Turns out these rocks created by AZ 3,000 years ago formed an ancient absorber. Wait, 3,000 years ago? I thought it was 300 years ago. Was that a typo? Okay, that's an even longer life, my God. Jurassic says, isn't that right, Byrony? Byrony says, a man named Chorus was overheard saying that these carved rocks, these men here, has special towers. So he did some research, and this is definitely a... Why did she mumble that? Also, chorus. More like Blake. We have procured the Pokemon we need. We'll drain their life force to activate the ultimate weapon and cleanse this world once and for all. Jurassic says, however, I'm concerned about what AZ said back there. We flash back to back when Jurassic was at the absorber of the ultimate weapon, saying, what? Lady Malva and Yveltal? This is bad. I have to stop Xerneas and Yveltal from fighting. But he looks over and notices something, saying, AZ left? AZ, just in a higher place away from Jurassic's reach, says, forget it. Your fancy scheme will never succeed. It's too late. You've tipped the balance. 3,000 years ago, I discovered that the Overseer appears if you disrupt the balance of Kalos' ecosystem. Jurassic says, the Overseer? AZ informs him, Xerneas, Yveltal, the ultimate weapon. The stage has been set. It's clear you're being watched by the Overseer. Z. This won't end as you expect. And in a weird puff of smoke, AZ disappears. Wild. Jurassic says, hey, how dare you disappear after dropping such ominous hints? AZ! But it's too late. He's gone. Very theatric. Jurassic, now in the present worries, the Overseer Z, also known as the Order Pokemon Zygarde. Byrony questions, what kind of Pokemon is it? Jurassic tells her, that was all I could find out. Thinking about it spying on us gives me the creeps. As he oversees the consoles in the area, he says, I had Essentia go after it, but will she produce the results? Oh, Essentia is currently at Anistar City in front of the Pokemon Center. What? Her headgear got damaged. What is happening over there? Essentia, report in. Wait, the Pokemon Village? I thought they were at Anistar City. But was that a mix-up? Because I thought Jurassic was at the Pokemon Village. Well, Sycamore has arrived, saying, so this is it. The legendary Pokemon Xerneas, as Essentia, atop of Xerneas, confronts X and Y and their Mega Evolved Pokemon. behind them everyone else. Y shouts, I finally managed to mega evolve my Pokemon, but why? Do I have to battle Zerzer now? But X tells her, why? I'll fight Xerneas. Don't worry about it. Y bites her lip saying, thanks, X. I didn't mean to be so whiny. It's okay. I'll do it. She has Mega Absol use Night Slash against Xerneas, but Xerneas manages to dodge and then strikes out at Mega Absol, knocking it into Y. X calls out, why? Y says, I'm fine. See? Ascension says, Xerneas, why are you going easy on her? Y says, Zerzer isn't entirely under Ascension's control. It didn't hurt much. Ouch. Ascension says, the Ball Jack virus isn't working very well. I had no idea legendary Pokemon could be so... yeah. It's still under your command, but it ain't putting no 100% into it. Which, I'm thankful for that. X races in with Mega Pinsir saying it's pointless to keep attacking Zerzer. Essentia is the one we have to defeat. What? And as Pinsir goes for Essentia, going for the head again, Essentia says, pointless. Oh, as she commands Xerneas to use gravity, sending X and Mega Pinsir plummeting to the ground. Shauna is shocked and looks away, seeing them hit the ground so hard. Y races in, calling out to X. I'm not sure what happened there. Oh, Mega Pinsir grabs onto Mega Absol's tail as they go racing up a building and towards Essentia. Y commands Mega Absol to use Iron Tail and manages to knock into Xerneas' head. But Mega Pinsir has also now aloft once again with X at its feet. Essentia tries to command Xerneas to use Aurora, but X is faster, commanding Mega Pinsir to use Feint. Oh, that move goes first, right? I think. Striking out at Essentia, damaging one of the nodes around her neck. It was already kind of damaged from before. Tierno, Shauna, and Trevor look on with joy as Essentia simply it sucks her teeth in response. But then she says, huh? Oh. The way this thing keeps appearing keeps freaking me out. I swear, every time this thing appears, it freaks me the heck out. But Essentia notices Zygarde standing there, watching menacingly. Essentia says, so you're still lurking around here. Z, Trevor, Tierno, and Shauna have also taken notice of Zygarde's presence. Trevor saying, what? Shauna says, whoa. Tierno says, what is that? X and Y are also shocked as Trevor questions Professor Sycamore. Professor? Sycamore says, I have no idea. I've never seen this Pokemon before. Y says, a new enemy? So? But Xerneas, still using its connection to Y, says telepathically, wait, mustn't fight it. Y turns saying, Zerzer, are you free of Essentia's Balljack? Xerneas responds, no, but the last attack seems to have shorted out its control function. That Pokemon is Zygarde, the Overseer. It isn't our enemy, neither is it our ally. However, it appears to have stopped me. Oh, Essentia then says, I'm having trouble controlling Xerneas now that Z has appeared. In that case, and she brings out Trevenant. See, it's funny though, because I do like Trevenant. It's just, I don't like it as much as a lot of these other Pokemon, so having it here with the rest of them is kind of like, one of these things does not belong. Trevenant's still kind of cool. And Essentia makes good use of it, as she commands Trevenant to use vines erupting out of the ground to wrap up and tie down Zygarde. But we see overhead, riding on the back of his Charizard, is Blue with Diantha. Blue says, the lights on the, feathers, fins, frills on Zygarde begin to light up, and something starts appearing out of the trees, the ground, the soil, the cobblestone. Shauna jumps up and away from it onto Tierno saying, what are these? As these glorious objects, probably green, all starts to gather towards Zygarde. From the air, the earth, the sea, all towards Zygarde. Weird. Shauna says those green wobbly things are getting sucked into it. Yeah, got it. Knew it was green, as these green globby orbs all converge on Zygarde, absorbed into it. Zygarde manages to break free of its constriction As Essentia says, it's gathering energy from the plants in the environment, but its defenses are down because it's concentrating on absorbing energy. Now's my chance to capture it. And Essentia jumps in. Did she have a Pokeball? Not sure. It just kind of looks like she touches Zygarde's head, and in a blinding light that cuts off the vision of X, Y, Blue, and Diantha, Essentia then lands, obviously exhausted. Back over at the Pokemon Village, Team Flare grunts, or no, I guess it's Xerneas. Xerosic. It's really hard to tell who's speaking here. I guess it's Xerosic who says it's not working. A remote control function isn't working. What in the world is happening to Essentia? Xerosic says, sir. Oh no, a Grunt says, sir, one of our people at Anastar City is currently checking but a Grunt says, we're cutting it loose. Xerosic says, Essentia's time limit is almost up. If it's running on its AI, it should have automatically shifted from its defense mechanism to its homing mechanism. This doesn't make any sense. Could the test subject be? Suddenly, the words disconnected come up on the screen that Xerosic is looking at. He questions, did it just reject us? Essentia! We see over with Essentia as she's breathing heavily. She suddenly flies off into the sky. X looking on, bewildered. But she managed to capture Zygarde, right? Y questions, where's Zygarde? But Blue, dismounting from Charizard with Diantha, questions, was that Zygarde? Y says, Blue, Diantha. Diantha says, it looked like Essentia captured Zygarde with a Pokeball. Blue says, right. Trevor questions, you know about Zygarde? Diantha says, the reason Blue came to Kalos was to investigate Zygarde. He believed that Zygarde could be a decisive Pokemon in the battle against Team Flare. Shauna says, what? But Team Flare has that decisive Pokemon now. So Tierno turns to Xerneas, saying, at least they didn't get Zerzer. Y says, that's right, thanks to X. But X doesn't really spawn. He has an intense look on his face, saying, I caught a glimpse of the person inside Essentia when Rut cracked her helmet. Her eyes were closed for the whole battle. Y questions, what are you saying? X explains, the person inside Essentia was completely asleep, much to the shock of everyone else. But then, Sycamore suddenly says, Cena, Dexio, is that possible? Trevor says, what's wrong, Professor? Sycamore explains, I had my two assistants keep an eye on Lysander Cafe for me, but they were discovered and embroiled in a battle. Oh, yeah, you see some random dude attacking them with what is that, a Gulpin? A Swalot. There you go, Swalot. Trevor questions, and we see that Sycamore is on his Holocaster. I finally remember the name now. Thank you. Repeat that, Dexio? Dexio says, sure. We defeated the enemy and got him to spill the beans. As we see Cena restraining the person. As Dexio explains, Lysander and Malva are currently at a place called Pokemon Village. And if earlier in the chapter was anything to go by, everybody's already at the Pokemon Village. Yeah, I'm not reading that again about Anastar City. Alright, it's the last chapter of this volume and this video. It's adventure number 39, Malamar Traps. What? Okay. We pick up with, is this a dream? Lysander aboard his Gyarados. Is it a Mega Gyarados? Yeah, I think I see the Mega Gyarados fins confronting X and his Pokemon. Mega Gyarados lunges forward and seems to cut down all of X's Pokemon, as well as X himself. Jesus. X wakes up, aghast. He thinks to himself, a dream? Am I subconsciously afraid of facing Lysander again? I can't believe I had a nightmare like that just when we found out where Lysander has been hiding. And before we launch our attack. No, he says, thinks to himself, exiting the tent on the back of Rhyhorn. Actually, I love that he's still on the Rhyhorn tent, and everyone else is in just regular tents. As we pick up in Route 18, first on the outskirts of Anastar City. X walks over to where all of his Pokemon are sleeping. It's interesting that he lets all of his Pokemon just kind of hang out outside. He thinks to himself, my team is complete. Now that Rut has joined us. You have good teamwork too. This won't be like the last time. Suddenly he hears a voice call out, Magnet Bomb! What? Oh! As the earth is upheaved, we see... Okay, I gotta look up their names, because I'm not used to these two. Wingstrom and Drasna. Wingstrom and Drasna. Right. The Knight and the Dragon Milf? I don't know if I should say that, but I did, so oh well. Yeah, Wingstrom and Drasna. We see Wingstrom since I guess he's the metal focusing one, and he has a Probopass. There we go. And Dresna's watching as well. Wickstrom then noticing X watching them. Wickstrom says, "Ah, X, you're up already." Dresna says, "Oh, come on, Wickstrom. It's no wonder he awoke. You're so loud. Am I right?" X kind of recoils, saying, "Oh, no." Dresna then says, "Oh, dear me. Were you awakened by a nightmare then? But there's still time before we head out. You ought to get more rest. Want me to stay by your side until you fall asleep again?" Wickstrom says, "Cool it, Dresna. X and his friends are skilled traders. They stopped the ultimate weapon, and he was chosen by Xerneas as his partner. Well, actually, it wasn't him. We Elite Four members shouldn't be treating them like kids." Diantha then approaches, saying, "Wickstrom, Dresna, cut it out. You're upsetting X." She comes over, saying sorry. X kind of just mumbles to himself as Diantha says, "We're trying to keep this infiltration of Pokemon Village a secret, so keep it down." Wickstrom gives a bit of a bow, while Dresna kind of it seems a little flustered, but Wickstrom says, "My apologies, but we need to create a path for them to approach the village. We'll tone it down. Now relax and get some more shut-eye." Diantha says, "Listen to him, X." But X walks away, saying, "I'll decide whether I want to go back to sleep or not for myself. Please just leave me be." Wickstrom is utterly bewildered as Dresden says, "Oh dearie me. My, oh my, oh my." Well, Diantha just kind of chuckles to herself. Okay. See, I wasn't sure if we'd have enough time to actually involve the rest of the Elite Four, but honestly, we've kind of had a moment for everybody. Every gym leader, every Elite Four member. I mean, Grant has absolutely falling into obscurity at this point, but he had plenty of moments previously. I'm actually surprised that Ramos had so many moments. If anything, it was I am blanking on his name right now because he's been one of the most least interesting characters. Wolfric, right? Yeah, Wolfric. We probably did the least with Wolfric yet so far. But we cut over to the Pokemon Village where we see several Team Flare members going through some data. They say to each other, the expansion suit Essentia was wearing while in pursuit of Zygarde was damaged. She flew out of control and disappeared. Zygarde was there too, but it vanished as well. Oh, okay. I guess this was Xerosic giving his report to Lysander as he bows before him saying, "I'm so sorry." Lysander says, "Xerosic?" Xerosic questions, "Yes, sir." Lysander says, "Until now, I've given you all the freedom with your research that you could wish for. I believed your work would benefit Team Flare and entrusted you with it. But as of this moment, I'm suspending the development of the expansion suit." Xerosic says, "No!" Lysander, in a very dismissive tone, not even looking at Xerosic, simply says, "Some of our operations succeeded thanks to Essentia, but the suit has too many uncontrollable variables." Which he's not wrong about. I mean, look, it's not... Essentia has done a lot for Team Flare, no doubt about it. But there's some really obvious drawbacks to this. And going down this route for so many crucial instances is going to lead to disaster, and Lysander sees it. Xerosic says, but Lysander, now very much looking at Xerosic, says, "Don't make me repeat myself." Xerosic is bowing his head. I couldn't tell at first, but he's definitely bowing his head and the sweat is dripping towards the camera. He thinks to himself, he's angry. Really angry. This is bad. I feel like Xerosic's going to want to prove himself and then proceed forward despite not being told not to. Kind of one of those better ask for forgiveness than permission. And Lysander's been actually pretty cool to a lot of his subordinates. I gotta say, he's probably been one of the better bosses, but it's all about the elite and all that stuff. And I don't think I've ever seen Lysander actually congregate or communicate with any of the grunts. But we then cut to X's group, complete with Diantha and Blue. Where's Wickstrom and Dresna? Oh, yeah, there they are. Oh, and sure enough, I'm already forgetting his name. Sibold is here too. He'd be like, "Why isn't Malva here?" Well, we know why Malva isn't here. Dresden says, Oh dear me, what a large group. Aren't you all concerned about that ball jack thingy? Y looks to the Xerneas tree in her Pokeball, which is so weird that it's in a tree form in the ball. Saying, yes, but my Xerneas hasn't regained its life force yet. It's still inside my Pokeball. It's the same with X's Charmeleon, Salome. Huh? For some reason, it won't come out of its Pokeball either. Trevor says, isn't that right, X? X nods. Well, Shauna I don't know why I called her Senna. Shauna says, but it was so spirited back on Memaswine Road. Yeah, why would his Charmeleon be sulking? X thinks to himself, it's lost its energy. It lost its energy later when our Megastones glowed after absorbing the 8 o'clock energy wave from the sundial. Why? That's so specific. Is it because he hasn't found its Mega Evolution Stone? But Winkstrom says, I'll explain our plan now. Lysander surely knows that you've discovered his hideout. He's bound to try to prevent you from entering Pokemon Village. And Malva, another member of the Elite Four, was a spy for Team Flare. Consequently, they probably have their eyes peeled for the three of us. Gesturing to himself and the other two Elite Four members, he tells them, we'll create a diversion so that you can follow a back road into the village undetected. I'm a steel-type expert specializing in magnetism. I spent some time pulling magnetic rocks out of the ground last night. Fortunately, Blue has a scissor. Love filling up the screen with my faves. A steel-type Pokemon should have no problem following that trail. Subolden says, I made lunch for you to eat on the way. I hope you like it. Well, Dresna says, and this is from me. That Pokemon you met yesterday, Zygarde. Apparently, it's a dragon type who slithers over the ground. Since I'm a dragon type expert, I wrote some information down for you. It might come in handy. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. And as they break off from the other Elite Four members, Y calls out, see you later. I love X's disinterested look. It's a different kind of disinterested from Blue's look. I love the contrast. God, you could really tell how much older Blue is by this point. It's wild to see him with people who Blue was that same age not too long ago. I mean, that's how aging works, but it's so weird. I've seen plenty of real life people grow up, but once you really notice the passage of time through someone actually growing up, it just really kind of catches your attention. Like, whoa! And as they follow the magnetic rocks, completely flanked by all of their Pokemon, my god. These panelists just filled with characters of Pokemon. Blue says, this way. Y says to Trevor, I'm glad Blue and Diantha are coming with us. Trevor says, me too. While Shauna says, I'm surprised X agreed to let them join us. Right? But Tierna says, and I was surprised when X said we should attack together. Oh, it's the dream. Trevor thinks to himself, X seems more willing to work with others now. That's probably a good thing. I guess it's a sign that X is really determined to defeat Lysander, whatever it takes. Oh, it's more that I think he's just had enough situations where he has to acknowledge that he is not the end-all be-all. Yes, he's extremely powerful, extremely capable, but he can't do everything, especially not by himself. And that's the reality he actually kind of had to face. Shoot, that's a reality I've had to face in life, where it's like, no, I should be able to handle everything and all things. No, not necessarily. And sometimes there are things that pop up that you just can't do yourself. Oh, wait, what? Y says it's getting foggy. Suddenly Frogadier perks to life, blasts some water. Y turns saying, what's the matter, Croaky? And suddenly Frogadier leaps into the air and immediately transforms into my favorite starter Pokemon of the Kalos region, Greninja! Yes, I love Greninja. Again, big reason why I was tempted to get X and Y. And man, Ash's Greninja, not simply Ash Greninja, but Ash is Greninja. So cool. Still kind of weirds me out that scarf is its tongue, but it's still cool. Y says, Croaky evolved. Greninja seems to spot something and sends out its water shuriken, blasting everyone in the face? Huh? What? Shauna says, what was that for? Well, Y says, hey, you got water in my ears. Diantha wipes her face with a handkerchief. She says, wait, maybe it noticed something and is trying to warn us. Yeah, I don't know. Greninja, even before has always been very astute with sensing things. I can't see it doing that for no reason. Blue says, maybe. Be careful. Everyone proceeds forward. Diantha says, strange. We should have reached Curryway Town by now. Blue says, even though the fog is thick, we couldn't have gotten lost. Oh. Suddenly, Blue says, Scissor. Oh. Blue notices Scissor falling over. And as Blue calls out for Scissor, he falls over. Trevor falls over. Shauna, Tierno, Diantha, X, Y, and all their Pokemon. They all pass out. And in the fog, okay, we see Jurassic and his Malamar. As he says, I found them. I knew you would come. I set up a blockade along major thoroughfares like routes 19, 20, and 22, and covered the mountain roads with hypnosis, which was only possible because Malamar wields the most powerful hypnotic powers of all Pokemon. Yeah, I was reading up on the Pokemon anime where you have an evil Malamar just controlling people in Pokemon. Like, my god. The Pokédex entry reads, Malamar. See, I actually have to acknowledge this because we almost never get Pokédex entries anymore. Malamar, the overturning Pokemon. It has the most powerful hypnotic power of any Pokemon and can make others do whatever it wants them to. Jurassic says, once I put you to sleep, it was a piece of cake to find out where you were. And that strategy has just paid off. Only for Jurassic to immediately be moved out of the way by Malamar, avoiding several water shuriken dabbing into the ground. Jumping down before them, Jurassic freaks out, seeing, Greninja and X? Interesting. Jurassic questions, why aren't you asleep? And X turns and pats Greninja. Wait a minute. Looking back, everyone else wiped their faces and got the water out of their ears. Did X not do that? Greninja goes in with its water shuriken. The attack is called water shuriken, right? I'm actually not sure. They're called throwing stars of water. Water throwing stars, I guess? There are several water throwing stars, but Malamar manages to break through them all. Greninja then unravels its tongue, which always freaks me out, and clashes with Malamar's tentacles. But Greninja's tongue is better, managing to yank Malamar and send it crashing into a tree, downing it instantly. Greninja then lands behind Jurassic as he questions, how did you block my hypnosis? X, gets the water out of his ears. Man, Greninja, it knew something was up like that. That is impressive. That is hella impressive. Jurassic says, earplugs? X explains, saying, Croaky sensed the presence of enemies as soon as we stepped into the mountain. Then it noticed the trap you had set and tried to plug everyone's ears using water shuriken. Water shuriken, thank you. Unfortunately, the others drained the water out of their ears because they didn't understand what Croaky was trying to do. Only pretended to be hypnotized so I could lure out whoever set the trap. Jurassic turns, saying, but what about Greninja? X explains, saying, it doesn't have its tongue wrapped around its neck for nothing. That's how it covered its ears. Dang. Now, it's my turn to ask the question. Why did you come here to attack us? As everyone else begins to stir and awaken, X questions. You could have just waited for us to arrive at Pokemon Village. Why travel all the way down here? Jurassic staunchly doesn't respond, but X seems to realize, saying, is it to stop us from even approaching the village? Answer me. What's so secret and important about Pokemon Village? Well, what will we find there? Jurassic turns away. We cut over to the Pokemon Village, where someone is on comm saying, report from Route 19, currently fighting Sabold of the Elite Four. Report from Route 20, fierce damage incurred in a battle against Wingstrom of the Elite Four. Route 22, Drazna has broken through the blockade, calling for more backup. This is Geosang, and deep in the cave, we see Mewtwo. And what does this mean, though, that Mewtwo's already there? I thought it would have been with Blaine, but then again, because of what happened to Blaine, maybe it started acting on its own. But Mewtwo is there with its Psychic Spoon! I don't know if I'm going to do the effect or not. We then cut over to Cloud's City at the Battle Mansion, where Blaine departs on his Rapidash saying, thank you very much. Okay, I've already forgotten all of their names. You have Dana, who says, take care on your journey. Morgan says, you mustn't push yourself too much. Evelyn then says, please visit the battle mansion next time to take part in the challenges. While Anita says, we could have a brothers and sisters battle. Brothers and sisters? Oh, right, his brother. As Blaine takes off, he says, brothers and sisters battle. They probably have no idea that this brother is a Pokemon. And speaking of brothers, Peche, Ile, and my fellow Mega Evolution brothers, said they were participating in the diversion operation against Team Flare with the Elite Four, Elite Three. But I haven't heard from them since. Oh, you even see a Mega Alakazam and stuffed. Moreover, what is Team Flare doing at the village? The only thing I feel through the Mega Ring is the explosive emotion swelling up inside my brother. What is happening at the village? I must hurry. To be continued. Alright, good stuff, good stuff. We have Essentia breaking free of her control. Interesting. Zygarde is now in Essentia's possession. What will that ultimately mean? Especially if she is no longer being controlled. We now have the ability to Mega Evolve Pinsir and Absol. I don't remember if any other Pokemon they have with them can Mega Evolve. But still, that was pretty cool. And we managed to keep Xerneas. Thank you. Don't want to lose our advantage. Now that got kind of intense, Xerneas under the control of Essentia. That fight was pretty good, and I'm glad the Elite Four are helping out. It's unfortunate we can't see them actually battle, but it kind of is what it is. I knew they were probably going to be a bit of an aside, but at least they had some moment with X and the others. So there is that. But Mewtwo's on the move and he's pissed. It's like another evil organization up to no good. How many times do I want to have to deal with this? Mewtwo is pissed. And it looks like Blaine's actually going to join the battle too. I wasn't sure, given how injured he was, but he's in too. And Blue, and man, I'm just shocked that so many people are actually involved with this so far in. Oh man, we are gearing up for the finale. Yeah, this is it. Next volume, everything ends, and I can't wait. So let me know your thoughts on these chapters in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I hope to see you later. So then, take care. Bye-bye. Man, it's so crowded.